I never thought I'd be the type of person to fall for an online scam, especially one that revolved around a celebrity. I always assumed scams were something that happened to people who weren't careful, people who didn't pay attention to red flags. But when I look back at how it started, I can see how skillfully the trap was set, how carefully it was laid out to make me feel special, chosen, and even flattered. It began one evening when I was scrolling through Instagram. I had just finished a long day at work and was absent-mindedly liking pictures of my favorite actor, someone whose movies I had adored since I was a teenager. He wasn't just an actor to me. He was a symbol of resilience, someone who had built a career from nothing and had spoken openly about struggles I could relate to. In a way, I felt like I knew him, like he wasn't just a face on a screen, but someone whose words had carried me through dark times. That's why, when I saw the notification that he had followed me, my heart skipped a beat. At first, I thought it had to be fake. Celebrities don't just follow random fans. But when I clicked the profile, it looked real. The bio was perfect, with verified-looking pictures, clips from interviews, and even posts that seemed to be in real time with what he was posting on his official account. The handle had a slight variation, but it was subtle, easy to miss. I told myself maybe this was his private, personal page, the kind that only a select few got access to. Then came the message. At first, it was simple. Thank you for supporting me all these years. I noticed your comments and I really appreciate them. My hands shook as I read it. He had noticed me. Out of millions of fans, he had taken the time to send me a message. I should have paused, should have questioned it, but in that moment, my rational brain shut down. Instead, I was swept up in the fantasy of it. Over the next few days, the messages became more personal. He asked about my life, my dreams, and what I wanted for the future. His responses felt real, heartfelt even. He told me about how lonely fame could be, how it was hard to find people who cared about him for who he truly was. I felt honored that he would open up to me, like I had been given access to the man behind the fame. Soon, I found myself waking up excited to check my messages, staying up late to talk with him, and rearranging my life to make sure I never missed a reply. My friends noticed something was different about me, but I brushed off their questions. How could I explain what was happening without sounding delusional? That someone I admired for years was finally talking to me? The first request seemed harmless enough. He told me he was working on a secret charity project and needed help gathering a small group of trusted supporters before going public. He said he couldn't use his official accounts because the media would blow it out of proportion. Instead, he was reaching out privately to people he trusted. I was flattered that he included me. All he asked at first was that I keep it between us. Looking back, that was the moment the hook set in. The secrecy, the sense of being special, of being chosen. It blinded me to the glaring warning signs. I didn't realize that everything he said, every compliment, every message, was part of a script designed to pull me deeper. What I didn't know was that this was just the beginning. The real requests, the ones that would drain me of everything I owned, were coming next. The first time he asked me for money, it didn't even feel like a request. He framed it as a test of loyalty, as though by helping him, I was stepping into his inner circle. He explained that this secret charity project was about funding struggling artists and single mothers who had been abandoned by society. He made it sound noble, even heroic, and he said he couldn't use his name publicly because people would twist it into a publicity stunt. He asked if I could contribute just a small amount, $500. He called it a seed donation, a way to show commitment. My heart raced as I transferred the money. I wasn't just donating. I was becoming part of something bigger, something meaningful. And most of all, I was helping him. The gratitude that followed was overwhelming. He thanked me profusely, told me I was one of the few people he could trust, and even hinted that when this project was complete, I'd be invited to meet him in person. That promise, that dangling reward of finally stepping into his world, made me feel like I was living a dream. But dreams are deceptive. Soon, the requests escalated. He told me the project was facing setbacks because of corrupt officials and unexpected fees. Each time, he sounded apologetic, almost guilty for involving me, but he reassured me that I was investing in something life-changing. He even sent me what looked like receipts, documents, and contracts, carefully forged papers with official seals and signatures. $500 turned into $5,000, then $10,000. I had savings set aside, money I had worked years to build. At first, I hesitated, but he always had the perfect words to soothe my doubts. He'd send voice notes that sounded warm and genuine. He'd write messages late at night, telling me I was the only one he could talk to, the only one who understood him. And I believed him. I started justifying it in my head. This is temporary. When the project launches, he'll pay me back. He's a millionaire. What's $10,000 to him? Every time I sent money, I told myself it was the last time. But it never was. The emotional manipulation grew deeper. On nights when I expressed doubt, he'd tell me he was disappointed, that he thought I was different from everyone else who only cared about his fame. He made me feel guilty for even questioning him. Other times, he'd shower me with affection, calling me his confidant, his one true friend. That push and pull kept me hooked, always chasing his approval. When I maxed out my savings, he suggested I take a loan. He framed it as an opportunity, an investment that would multiply in no time. Against my better judgment, I did. Then came the credit cards. Each swipe felt like a plunge into quicksand, but by then, I was too deep to climb out. I had convinced myself that it was only a matter of time before everything paid off, that the day was coming when he would reveal the truth, and I would not only have my money back, but also the recognition of being part of his trusted circle. But deep down, a small voice inside me whispered doubts. It pointed out inconsistencies in his stories, delays that didn't make sense, excuses that grew thinner with each passing week. Still, I silenced that voice, because the alternative, that I was being scammed, was too painful to admit. By the time I realized the truth, it was already too late. My life savings were gone, swallowed by a lie crafted so perfectly that it blinded me. But the worst part wasn't the money. It was the betrayal. Because I had given him more than just my money. I had given him my trust, my time, my heart. And he had weaponized all of it against me. The first crack in the illusion came when I finally tried to verify some of his claims. He had sent me an official-looking document about a charity registration in Los Angeles, so I decided to check it against public records. I typed the organization name into Google, and nothing came up. No registrations, no projects, no photos, just nothing. That was the moment my stomach dropped. Still, I tried to cling to hope. Maybe it was under a different name. Maybe it was too new to show up. But the more I searched, the more I realized how many details simply didn't add up. The dates didn't match. The seals looked blurry. The signatures looked copied and pasted. My hands shook as the realization settled in. I had been scammed. I didn't want to believe it. I couldn't believe it. I told myself maybe he was protecting his privacy. Maybe he'd explain everything. But when I confronted him, the response was different. The warmth disappeared. Suddenly, he was cold, distant, even angry. He accused me of not trusting him, of betraying him after everything he had shared with me. And then silence. The messages stopped. The voice notes vanished. His profile disappeared. It was as if he had never existed. Overnight, my entire world collapsed. The man I had trusted, admired, even cared for. It was all a mask, a carefully constructed illusion designed to drain me of everything I had. I sat there staring at my bank account. The numbers dwindled to almost nothing. Years of hard work, every bit of savings I had built, all gone. The debt from the loans and credit cards loomed over me like a shadow I couldn't escape. I felt ashamed, humiliated, and broken. But the worst part was the isolation. I didn't want to tell anyone. How could I explain that I had given everything to someone who wasn't even real? How could I admit that I, a rational adult, had fallen for a scam? I spent nights crying, replaying every message in my head, wondering how I had missed the signs. He had studied me. He had learned my insecurities, my hopes, my weaknesses, and he had used them against me. And I realized, this wasn't just about me. This was his job. He was probably running the same scam on dozens of people at the same time, sending the same words, recycling the same lies. Eventually, I forced myself to take action. I reported the scam to the authorities, to my bank, even to the platform where he first contacted me. But the truth is, recovery is nearly impossible. Once the money is gone, it's gone. These scammers are professionals at covering their tracks, operating across borders, hiding behind fake accounts and untraceable payments. And that's why I'm telling my story now. Because if sharing what happened to me can stop even one person from falling into the same trap, then maybe my loss won't be completely in vain. The lesson is simple but painful. Never trust someone who asks for money online, no matter who they claim to be. A real celebrity will never slide into your DMs asking for secret donations. Array Foundation will never require you to send money through untraceable apps. And anyone who pressures you, manipulates you, or makes you feel guilty for hesitating, that's not love, that's not friendship, and it's not charity. It's a scam. I lost all my life savings, but I refuse to lose my voice. This is my warning to you. If it can happen to me, it can happen to anyone. Don't let them take your money, your trust, and your dignity. Learn from my mistake before it becomes your reality. If you think it could never happen to you, think again. These scammers are patient, clever, and they know exactly how to manipulate your trust. If my story can save even one person from losing what I lost, then it was worth telling. Please, be careful online. Double, check, question everything, and never send money to someone just because they wear the mask of fame.